Hello everyone, it's Cherie, and in this video I will be discussing the storyboarding process. Now, what is a storyboard? A storyboard is a series of drawings used to pre-visualize a movie. Often storyboards include arrows or instructions that indicate movement. The storyboarding process was developed at Walt Disney Productions during the early 1930s. Alfred Hitchcock storyboarded every single scene in his films. He called storyboarding the fun, creative part, and everything after that was work. Steven Spielberg storyboarded Raiders of the Lost Ark in its entirety, which helped him come in on time and under budget. Spielberg will draw little stick figure storyboards and then hand those off to a storyboard artist who goes back in and makes them look like beautiful, like comic book panels and with shading and, light sources and all that kind of stuff. Now, my storyboards are kind of between that. I can't do stick figures because that just doesn't help me visualize it enough. But I don't do all the professional shading and light source kind of stuff. So I'm kind of in the middle between those two. Now, I personally love to use storyboards. Every time I do a shoot and I have a storyboard, it turns out really well. And when I don't have storyboards, it's just, it takes longer and usually it just doesn't look as good or cut together quite as well. So I'm a big proponent of storyboards, and I storyboarded the entire script for the 99%. I had no idea how long that was going to take. Um, it, it took forever. Basically, I have 114 pages of storyboards. I have a total of about 700 panels, so 700 individual drawings. And each drawing took me about 10 minutes. So when I totaled it all up, I basically spent about 3 work weeks of time doing my storyboards. And, I was a little perplexed. I mean, like, am I spending too long on these? They're not super professional, but, they're not like quick drawings because I can't really visualize stuff that way. So I Googled online, average time to storyboard a feature film. Yes, it will take anywhere from a few weeks to a few months to storyboard a feature. So I was right there. It's a great learning lesson. So now I'll know for next time, my next film that I do, to put aside at least 3 weeks in pre-production to do storyboards. I wasn't able to do them, consistently, like 3 work weeks, because I actually have a job. And so I was doing it on weekends, and I was doing it sometimes in the mornings and sometimes when I got home from work, and it just took forever. It really took forever. But it's worth it because now, like, the whole movie is visualized, and all we have to do is follow the storyboards and we'll have our movie. All right, so I'm going to show you some examples. So here's a page with 6 panels, and you'll see at the top of the panel there's the scene number, and then what type of shot it is: wide shot, medium, shoulder shot, close-up. And then there's the drawing, and then underneath that, maybe little brief snippets of dialogue or the action that happens in the scene. And then under that, I put, if I want the camera to be on a tripod, which I write sticks because that's the shorthand, or if I want some kind of camera movement. So after that, I went back, and where I have arrows in the storyboards, I made all the character movement red lines. Then I went back again and I made all the camera movement blue lines. Now, I do have some shots where the camera is moving a lot, and so I couldn't just like storyboard the whole movement because that's going to be blocking when we're on the set and stuff. So I just outlined the entire panel in blue, and that indicates that that's going to be like camera choreography with character movement in it. And then after that, I stuck in the shot numbers. So that was from when I lined the script and got my shot list together. Then I could associate the storyboards with the shot numbers. So I really enjoy making storyboards. I love drawing, so it was really fun, even though it took forever. Now, I don't have a lot of close-ups, facial close-ups in these storyboards. And that's because I feel that those moments where you're like this close to a character should really be just the most important parts. And I think I've got 8. Now I do have a lot of like shoulder shots, like here up, but when you're going in real close, you know, that's got to mean something. So yeah, I only have 8 facial close-ups. I have a lot of like cutaways and inserts that are close-ups of, you know, if they're reading something or a phone or a clock or whatever. But of the people in general, I'm gonna try to do a lot of blocking because I really do appreciate that old Hollywood style of blocking the actors and then having camera movement around that blocking. Um, it's a very nice style. And what I did before I did these storyboards, for about 3 months, I watched 12 different Steven Spielberg movies because he always does blocking and camera movement. And I just learned so much. Like, he has so much blocking and camera movement. Like, there's hardly any shots on tripods. I mean, he has them, but just like it's mostly movement. And that's also, you know, a story's dynamic and your characters are doing stuff. So yeah, why not have the camera moving? And anyway, so yeah, big proponent. I really hope this works out. I hope it goes well because that does take extra time, extra practice to do that kind of thing. I also rewatched Norma Ray, and that was interesting because that had so much handheld camera movement in it. There was one shot that I saw that was actually on a tripod, and that's a shot where the union representative is in the church and he's gathering all the people in to hear him talk about what starting a union is. And that's the only shot on a tripod. Now, for my movie, I'm doing the opposite. I will have tripod shots when there's a stability in the situation, when, like, my main character's at home with her mother at the table, you know, there's nothing jarring that would need camera shakiness or handheldness for. When she's doing the mundane job at work, the repetitive task, that's always on a tripod. But when she goes to the union meetings and the union representative Marshall is talking to them, he's very dynamic. He's moving around. He's a showman. And so the camera is going to move with him, and it's going to be very, very dynamic. And yeah, so it's kind of funny because of how Norma Ray did that and then how I'm going to do that in a different way. All right, so that's it about storyboarding. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for joining me.